The 9 Years Podcast.
How's it going, everybody? Nick Draper here with Stuart Deacons, and we'd like to thank you for downloading the 9 Years Podcast that drops every Thursday morning on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud and Podomatic.com. I'd like to say a big hello to those of you that subscribe to any of our channels. It is free, after all, and especially to those of you that have left us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And if you have any comments for us, please leave them there as well, or contact us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search for 9YRS Podcast. WrestleMania week is over for this year, but as always, it was quite the spectacle. Obviously, I didn't make the pilgrimage to Dallas this year, but the whole Mania celebration did take me to many weird and wonderful places over the past week or so, taking in each and every WWE show that I could, and now the job is to somehow try and catch up with all the other independent promotions that run shows in the Dallas area over the week. As for what I've seen so far, Stu, I did some quick maths and worked out that I must have watched just shy of 22 hours worth of new content from Thursday to the early hours of Tuesday morning, the very early hours of Tuesday morning. But it was totally worth it for the most part. But anyway, WWE Network is free for a month for new subscribers, so go to WWE.com now and watch the Daniel Bryan documentary, then the NXT TakeOver show from Dallas, just to get a glimpse of why I'm such a huge wrestling fan. Unbelievably great television on both counts. That's enough of that for now. Stu, what have you been up to this week?
Well, to be fair, relatively nothing compared to what you've been doing. 22 hours, that's basically like nearly half a season worth of watching Wimbledon in one day. Season?
Well, no, it can't be that. No.
Hour and a half a game?
Yeah, so that's less than 15 games, isn't it?
Well, it's a quarter of a season. It's a third of a season.
Third of a season. Yeah, third of a season. Yeah, right. No, fair enough.
Basically, you've watched August, September, October in like one weekend.
Yeah, well, a little bit more than a weekend. Just short, a few days. But do you know what? It was great. It was amazing. Did you catch any of it? Any of it at all?
No, do you know what? I've had a few friends on Facebook who went out there. One of my mates from work, Jack, went over there, put a few bits and pieces on there, and also one of our friends, Darren, that we know, went over. And to be fair, some of the pictures he put on his blog were just totally amazing, weren't they, in terms of the venue? I did fall asleep one evening. I think I fell asleep on Monday, and woke up to some wrestling going on, and I quickly turned it off. I know that. It
must have been Monday night, Stu, into Tuesday morning with the Raw show.
It was live, wasn't it? I think
it was live. Yeah, it's live. Yeah.
To be fair, no, you know what? I'm one of those ones I'd watch if it's on and probably enjoy it. But yeah, not one that I watch religiously. I can't really afford to have another sport in my life. Really, is it a sport show or is it some sort of entertainment show?
Well, it is clearly sports entertainment because they are very talented athletes. We should never forget this. In all that's said about wrestling, they are supremely talented, athletic men and women, especially the women.
Of course, I've seen some of the pictures, and yes, as again, you get the typical geezer birds and the birds that really shouldn't have their hair mucked up. But
okay, we're going to leave that there. Eva Marie, Paige, Google these people. Emma, Google these names, people. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, moving on, back to football. Enough wrestling I think there's enough wrestling for one year, isn't it? Yeah, we won't mention wrestling again in this podcast. That's a lie, by the way. Of course it goes. But never mind. Today we're just going to have a catch up in terms of Wimbledon. We're just going to have a catch up with all the latest around the club and our playoff chase, which is back on following the win at Wycombe on the weekend, which we're going to get to shortly. First of all, I do have a teaser this week. The teaser returns this week. And Stu, this podcast is being uploaded on the 7th of April. 6 years ago on this day, we played. 7th of April 2010, we had a game. Very, very simple one this week. Who are our opponents and what was the score? Now, you might think that's hard because that's just a random game that I've picked at the middle of nowhere. It was quite a memorable one for many reasons.
Well, the year probably gives it away.
Helps.
Bearing in mind, we've got a few interviews coming up and I've been doing some research about that season. So
that might help you out.
I might have actually helped myself out. By the way, can I just say, you did say we're going to be catching up on a few bits about Wimbledon. You do remember this is a Wimbledon podcast, Nick?
What? No, this is wrestling.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll catch up with a few bits of Wimbledon. That's the main topic.
Let's get on to the wrestling then, as this is a wrestling podcast. Where should we start? The Hall of Fame? That was great.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think I've got a good idea. Although I could be caught between two, but yeah, I think I know roughly.
Yeah, well, we'll come to it at the end of the show. Give the listeners a chance to have a think. Whilst we do talk about Wycombe, which was a great away day. Fantastic 2-1 victory, kept our playoff chances alive. Stu, where were you following developments from?
Well, I'm going away on holiday on Sunday, so a couple of days. So I was in two minds. Wycombe, even though it's one of the local games, Wycombe wind me up. And I just find myself getting a little bit stressed. And I thought I needed to get a few bits and pieces for a holiday. So I decided to give it a miss. So where was I? I was actually in Tesco's for the first half in Gatwick. Where my fiance was getting bits and pieces and getting a bit frustrated with me. I wasn't actually paying attention and looking at my phone all the time. And so I think I was in for most of the first half and then got home for the second half. And I have to say, following football or following Wimbledon by Twitter and also watching Soccer Saturday, it's just a torture, especially when you're winning, because it's very difficult to know if you're holding on to that win at this point of the season. But yeah, that was me. Just what a great win.
I don't think we should have this when people say to us about our lives and they say how boring our lives are. Come on, Stu. Listen. Whilst I'm in Wycombe, Stu's in Tesco. Come on. And then when I finished at Wycombe, I was straight home to watch wrestling. I mean, come on. we are living the dream.
I was gutted. Obviously, I'm now caught between two stools. I'm now going to miss Plymouth on Saturday, mainly because now I don't want to jinx it, because, of course, now I won a game and I'm all about superstition at the moment, so I'm missing a few games before I go away on holiday, which is totally gutting. But
you did do the long trips to Morecambe and Hartlepool, where we picked up the 0 points.
Yeah,
and then
thanks for that.
We went to Wycombe and got a victory. So maybe it is you.
Maybe it is. Do you know what I mean? I think I deserve to surely see the victories after the torture of Hartlepool and Morecambe, but it's not to be. But I will rejoice in our form, and we're back on the road, aren't we? We're back on the road. We're back on the road to recovery.
We are. We are just, what are we, 2 points outside the playoffs, which is Wycombe have the final place with a game in hand. So, yeah, it was, we said before the game, I think we said it wasn't so much must win as it was must not lose. But the actual win was a huge bonus when you look at the situation it left us in.
Yeah, I was just, the reason I said it's a must not, I didn't think it was a win at all costs. I really didn't. Or I didn't want it, I was hoping it wouldn't be billed that way, because it basically becomes shit or bust, and you don't really want that at this point. Because
sit or bust.
Sit. Because as Saturday proved, there's a lot of twists and turns to go. We've said this for a couple of weeks. Nobody's sitting there. Nobody in the playoff places is going through the motions of just picking up 3 points, because there's a lot of people at either end of the table that need points for whatever reason, as York proved against Leyton Orient on Saturday. So I think it was a case we must not lose that. But let's be fair, the win now has basically showed Wycombe that actually there's a big fight for the last place you've got. We've gone to Wycombe, who don't really concede many goals. Their record's very good, and to be fair, from what the stats, and I'm going to be a Neil Hardy person now. The stats tell the story that we basically, in between the boxes, were basically where we won the game, because we had more shots, we had more corners, and we probably bossed a team that just don't lose too many games.
We did. We bossed them. I mean, that's the only way to say it. I think they had one shot in the first half. I'm not sure what the stats said. I don't think the stats actually registered that they did have a shot. They did have one shot in the final couple of minutes of the first half. There was a tiny spell of about 5 minutes, maybe when they started to put a bit of pressure on us, but we dominated from start to finish, to be honest with you. A lot of that, I think we're going to come to, is the team. Neil Hardy got his team selection, his tactics spot on the afternoon. What was your first opinion when you heard that we were starting with 3 up front, with Andy Barcham dropping out, going 3 in midfield, and then having Reece Murphy, Taylor and Tom Elliott up front?
I wasn't overly surprised. I didn't think Barcham would keep his place. I felt he needed just to be taken out of firing line. Barcham's had a great season, but I think maybe if we're going to look at a playoff place, maybe we just need to give him about 3 or 4 games, sit on the bench, regroup, and then this could. We've got 7 games left now, but this could be another 10 game. It could be 10-game season. So, we need to be thinking like that way. If you're gonna drop Bartram, do you go Fitzpatrick? Do you go Rigg? No, I think the 4-3-3 was. Neil Hardy said it was mainly because of the pitch is very narrow, and he felt the 4-3-3 had occupied him more. I get that. I also think he was trying to do something really that Gareth Ainsworth wasn't going to be prepared for, because tactically, Gareth Ainsworth isn't always spot on along with his gamesmanship. And I suppose it was a case of trying to do something that was going to unsettle Wycombe and make them think. And playing 3 up front for a team, against a team that don't concede many goals, I think was a great way of doing it. And you've got to get Elliott involved. You've got to get Elliott involved, and I think Murphy and Lyle Taylor would have worked well off him. And like I say, you were there. Before I saw the highlights, the target man's in Elliott is going to win everything, and them 2 players off him are just very switched on and clever players.
Well, you mentioned the 2 Wycombe centre halves last week who you thought we'd have a bit of trouble against. Tom Elliott did. He caused them problems all game. If you imagine, he was obviously the target man, and then Rhys Murphy and Lars Taylor sort of almost tucking in either side and helping out defensively, almost a 4-5-1 defensively, but then joining in when we went forward. And yeah, Tom Elliott was just a nuisance throughout. And
then no mugs. To be fair, Pierre and Stuart will win balls in the air against most centre halves, but I fancy Elliott against anyone at the moment in our league.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you've got players with the movement and the touch of Murphy and Taylor coming off that, we just continuously caused them problems. I think what was just as important in that, though, was the fact that George Frankham in midfield was able to get involved a lot more as well. More centrally, being able to play off, get into positions sort of in between the lines, make things happen, cause an extra option, an extra problem for Wycombe to consider. And his performance was fantastic. I think I'm beginning to wonder if George Frankham just needs to be a centre midfielder now. So much more influence when he's in that sort of position.
Yeah, well, I think we've said it along, isn't it? The reason why Nuardi loves George Frankham is the fact that he can play so many positions, similar to a situation where Jonathan Meades can as well. And when you have a squad that we're relying on with the youth backing up, you need players that can play in multiple positions. And George, we've said before, when George plays the right side of that sort of free in midfield, or we play a diamond, or we play a few things in there, when he's not religiously told to go out on the touchline, really in a way we probably dilute his effectiveness, because really when he's out wide, he's not a player that beats a man. He can basically whip a ball in with one touch. But in the midfield, you're right, he's a very good passing wise. George is as good as we've got in the club. And I think if you can get in the ball more often, he's going to do more damage. He could pick a pass. So was it, in terms of midfield wise, was it a free across there, or did we try and play a diamond in?
If you imagine, it's kind of a diamond without the tip of the diamond, if that makes sense, where sort of Danny Bullman's sitting, and then George Frankham and Jake Rees are sort of tucked in quite centrally just ahead of him. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So I think that works. And we got Pompey coming up in a couple of weeks, obviously at home, and we all know the job we've done at Pompey, where we played a diamond that day. We played rig in the hole, didn't we? Pompey couldn't live with it, because we basically stifled Pompey's threat is where they get their fullbacks pushed on, and then basically join. So what we done playing a diamond was effectively we stopped the fullbacks joining in, because we got Lard and Aziz at the time working that way.
Yeah,
you have to think that that formation. I seriously think that formation is what, the 4-4-2 or the 4-3-3. I think them formations are really going to be the game changers in the big games we've got coming up.
I imagine we'll go that way on Saturday at Plymouth as well, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. The key to that, as you mentioned there as well, when you play with that sort of system, is fullbacks, and you're expecting a lot of width to come from the fullbacks getting forward as well and helping out. It does almost go unnoticed, Jonathan Meades and Barry Fuller. I think we've had this conversation before. They always perform to such a consistent level. They almost have to do something exceptional for you to actually think, oh, blimey, what an outstanding game they had. Do you know what I mean? They always produce so well, and I think we need to keep mentioning that, because without their work rate, their ability to get up and down all the time, we wouldn't be as successful as we have been this season, I don't think. And Barry Fuller, I think a lot of this has gone unnoticed actually in the sort of confusion around the goal. The first goal this is, when Tom Elliott's got through on goal and he's pushed it across, he's been taken out by the goalkeeper. If it doesn't fall to Lyle Taylor, then the keeper's sent off and we've got a penalty. But what was lost in all that melee and everything was the fact that all came from Barry Fuller on the halfway line, stepping in to win the ball, and then bringing it out of defence, bringing it forward, running straight into the heart of the Wycombe defence, and moving the ball on from there. And without that, we don't score, basically. So I think we have to always remember what a job those two do, and what a loss really those two would be should we have any injuries or suspensions or anything.
And it was really weird actually say that, because watching back on the highlights, there's obviously Wycombe moaned about earlier on in the phase of play that there was a foul on the far left touchline. But the funny thing is, you're right. When the ball was played into the wide left player on the halfway line, it was basically just flat-footed. And Barry Fuller, comes in, but I don't really know why he went where he did. It didn't. Barry Fuller very rarely goes in field. It always is very much on the outside looking for George Frankham. So I suppose not having George as that option, being the wide, the natural wide right player, actually pushed him in. And you're right. It was a great bit of play, and then like I say, Kew gets taken out, and they're still moaning, but I think it just showed. Barry Fuller. When we're looking for the stats, Barry Fuller's got 5 assists this season, which is quite interesting. I'm not too sure on the stats I saw whether it actually is inclusive of. Well, it's not. He's basically got an assist, but he won't get the assist for Saturday. But he's got 5 assists this season already. I noticed the assists. George Frankham, 10 assists.
Yeah.
Lyle Taylor 6, and not a surprise, Adi Aziz 3.
Wow.
So there's your assists on there. But Barry Fuller's up there, and I think Meads has got a few. But we've like I said to you before, I think we've got some of the best fullbacks in the league, and no real change there needed for next season. It's quite consistent there at the moment. It's
funny reading the newspaper today. They were talking about Sami Nasri and Kevin De Bruyne possibly. I think it was Kevin De Bruyne actually and Mesut Ozil in the Premier League. They've got something like De Bruyne's got something like 25 goals and assists in total this season. Just thinking, not realising you've only mentioned it there, which is maybe realised. Lyle Taylor with 6 assists this season with 17 goals now. So he's
17, 16 in the league, 1 in the cup.
So he's been integral in 23 goals this season. That's very, very impressive.
Scoring wise, it's obviously a time of season. I was just looking and bearing in mind that got me thinking where Bayo didn't get on Saturday. Niall's obviously top goal scorer, but Adi Aziz has got 8, 7 in the league, 1 in the cup. Tom's got 6 and Bayo's got 5. But when you bear Andy Bartram's got 5 as well. Sort of shows you forward wise at the moment where we are sort of going if you're looking in terms of who's in what line of force of Neil at the moment.
Yeah, I mentioned this on our website actually at 9yispodcast.com, looking at 5 things we learned from the Wycombe game. I did mention the fact that Akinfenwa is probably not news to anyone. I expect he won't be with us in next season.
Yeah, be amazed.
Because you look at the lineup on Saturday and you think the front 3 were chosen as Murphy, Taylor, Elliott. The one substitution made was Aziz coming on, and Bayo was sort of left on the sidelines. So that pretty much tells you where he is in Neil Ardley's thinking right now, doesn't it?
It sort of does, and you have to think, obviously, bearing in mind that we've got Reece on loan from Oldham. He's out of contract. So it's funny, actually, while I was saying that, I'm drastically trying to look at the leagues over to see where Oldham are. Oldham's still in that playoff, in that relegation.
Yeah.
You have to think, really, would Reece Murphy stay there? If they get relegated, Reece is no better off being at Oldham than he is being a local. He's a local boy, being at a club that basically he's already been at, and also as a kid. So I think we probably will, and if we haven't already, I reckon we probably looked at keeping Murphy on for next season, which quite excites me because I think if we get a fit Reece Murphy, who's had all pre-season to play with this team, and we keep the players we've got one hell of a strike force next season. Yeah,
Reece Murphy's definitely improved as the game went on Saturday. It was probably ended up being his best performance for us from him, in my personal opinion. Definitely improved the game on. Obviously won us the penalty as well. Hit the bar a couple of times as well. Hit the woodwork as well. So he had it. I was impressed. By the end of the game, I came away from Wycombe thinking, Murphy actually starting to show what he can offer us.
He's a very clever player. And there's also been a bit on, as there are on guest books, which we obviously participate in as well and stuff. And some people thought it was a dive that he got for the penalty. I think it's just very clever play. I really do. He basically gets so tight on, was it Pierre or Stuart? I can't think of what one it was now, but he basically gets so tight that he's able to feel him and roll him. As soon as you can roll him and you get goal side, if you get a touch, then you're within your rights to go over. And Murphy sort of plays on the edge. He plays on the edge of the defenders, so he's always looking for the balls in behind, over the top. He will get goals in this league. Anyone who's watched him, you'd be crazy not to think he will. He hasn't played enough football. So we probably will start benefiting probably in a couple more games. You can't believe much more now. He's had a good 90 minutes here and there, hasn't he? So Murphy will score goals for fun in this league. I really believe that.
Talking of going down too easily, which Murphy was guilty of, let's be fair. I mean, not so much for the penalty, it was a definite penalty, okay? But there were a couple of other occasions where he threw himself to the floor rather too readily. But this was against Wycombe, who are the masters of doing this. It must just be mentioned, Gareth Ainsworth's got some somewhat unfavourable chants from the away end, one of which I don't think many people actually joined in with.
No.
But there was, because I don't think anyone thinks that, but I think more that the chance should have been aimed at his sides and the way they go about things. It must be said, we weren't particularly angels ourselves on Saturday either. In fact, in fairness to Wycombe, and believe me, I was giving them as much grief as anyone on Saturday as well, but I've seen them a lot worse than they were on Saturday. We still had the moaning and a couple of players going down too easily, surrounding the referee. We didn't shy away from having a word with the referee either at times. And as I say, we have a few of the dark arts about us as well, which is great. We've said on before, we need these. These are the things, though, that help you get up the league table. Okay, gamesmanship, to a degree, you do need that nasty sort of side to you, and we definitely have that about us. Lyle Taylor definitely has that about us. Make no mistake about that. The great thing about his temperament, though, is that when they tried it on with a penalty, which was, of all the things they did, was probably, for me, the worst, was the way they delayed the taking of the actual penalty. And the fact that the referee allowed them to delay it for so long, which was ridiculous. But Lyle Taylor's unflappable in those situations.
So what is, obviously, because I'm watching the highlights and they showed literally right at the end what actually happened. Was it a case of Lyle putting the ball on the spot, someone taking it off the spot, surrounding him? What they were trying to do?
Essentially, they had the right back who went down the penalty area. There's nothing wrong with him. He just went down and sat down the penalty area for 5 minutes. No one went near him. The referee didn't even acknowledge him. I think Tom Elliott went over and actually grabbed his hand and pulled him to his feet. Like, shook his hand, and then the fullback stood up for a few minutes and then crouched back down again. And all the time he was doing this, the goalkeeper was very interested in standing on the penalty spot and delaying the actual kick. But again, the referee is just standing there letting it happen for far too long. A booking at that point would have just cleared up any problems, but there we go. Eventually he sent the keeper away, and the keeper then got beaten by Lyle from the spot, and we won the game. So
the funny thing with Lyle is he's got such a temperament. I watched the Dons player interviews and I had Lyle on there only for a minute or so. I think he sounded very croaky, as if he'd been, either he's got a sore throat or just spent most of the half moaning at Wycombe players. But they sort of touched on that and he went, yeah, there's a bit of gamesmanship, but as if it was nothing at all to him. Do you know what I mean? I think it's as if now Neil, we know it so much, Neil has almost prepared them for it already. So it don't surprise them. They sort of know what's going to happen. And there are ways of combating it. I'm sure that Neil Ardley and Barry Fuller and Danny Borman and Paul Robinson are all in the referee's ears going, they're going to fall over, they're going to do this, ref, just be aware of it. All the things that we just said about being smart, being switched on, I'm sure we do now. We did it in the FA Cup game last year when Neil Ardley quite right come out and said, I spoke to the referee beforehand saying, we had a referee in the league before, Barrow couldn't get a touch of the ball without falling over, and we won a lot of free kicks, didn't we? And Barrow got a little bit of joy because of it. So I wouldn't be surprised. We've got some. You rightly said we're not. I wouldn't say we're a dirty team, but we don't get beat up. And I said a couple of weeks ago there was a couple of forums where Bristol Rovers, I believe, Accrington Stanley, Northampton said we were one of the best teams we played them, but also said we were one of the nastiest teams in terms of we just beat people up, which is League 2. That's what you got to do. There's no niceties in League 2.
We've had so many teams that have won this league doing exactly that, just grinding out results by beating other teams up.
Yeah, Stevenage, Shrewsbury,
Gillingham, they've all done it. So we have switched on to that part, and when you look at some of the players we've got down the spine of that team as well, that's how Neil's recruited, and he's done a great job.
Definitely.
Speaking of beating people up, I joke. But it was great to see Mickey Haswell and John Main joining us in the away end for the last 15 minutes or so at Wycombe. That was a surreal moment. I believe Dave Anderson was there as well. He didn't come and join in the festivities behind the goal.
He was probably too busy drinking in the hospitality area.
Probably, yeah. He wasn't leaving. Wasn't leaving the hospitality, was he? But it was great to see those two as well. More Don's legends. Don's legends everywhere on Saturday. Must be something about Wycombe that attracts them. Terry Brown often makes the trip, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, Terry originally was Reading based, wasn't he? That's where he lives that sort of way, wasn't it? So I think it's just a convenient. When we recruited, if you remember, when we recruited originally, we were recruited from Kent or the sort of Middlesex area, wasn't it? A lot. So I think that's where a few of them live. So it's good, though, isn't it? It's good that you can have them come back on and then to be fair, they probably paid to get in as well, because I doubt if there were free tickets behind the goal. Probably paid to get in, and it looked from what I saw, some of the pictures, that they had a really good time, and generally probably now are fans of the club due to their association, which I think is a really good reflection on the club itself, isn't it?
Absolutely. That brings us to tidying up these little bits and pieces from Wycombe then. Twitter poll for Man of the Match. Thank you again for Paul Raymond for sorting us out with this. And I think, do you know what? My brother was mainly responsible for the selection of these 4 names this week. So, got any issues with them, pick it up with him, but I don't think anyone did. Lara Taylor, obviously, though, was the clear winner, 44% of the vote. Tom Elliott, 33%. Paul Robinson, 19%. And in last place with just 4% of the vote. Come on, people. George Frankham, 4%. Wow. There we go. But, of course, funnily enough, Stu, considering we won the game, a lot more votes this week on the Twitter poll. Almost double what we got for the Morecambe defeat, or the Hartlepool defeat. Strange, that.
It's not surprising. Football's a very passionate game, isn't it? And I think when you lose, you just basically hide your head. And when you win, you want to check everything and join in, don't you? So good on people.
Don's 3-word reports, hashtag Don's 3-word reports. We've got a few of these. We'll start with Paul Raymond, actually. I must say a big thank you to Paul for hanging about outside Adams Park for about half an hour waiting for me because he had my ticket and I was slightly delayed getting to the game. So thank you very much for that, Paul. I must say Wycombe, Stu, is it's the hilliest place in the world. I mean, I was in Guildford this week and that's hilly.
Yeah, Guildford is.
But blooming Wycombe, oh my word. I've never seen inclines like it. I think one hill I climbed was about 90-degree angle. I swear, I do not make that up. It was like trying to walk. It was like trying to walk up a downward escalator. Does that make sense?
No, it is very hilly around Wycombe, isn't it? So I know we went there a year or so ago, and we parked a car up at the top of the hill, and just where the ground is, they got a car park which is literally on the grass verge.
Yeah, and
it is just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? You literally, I think, by the time you park your car, you're level with the top of the main stand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a bit of it's lovely scenery. I always think it's a nice, picturesque at Wycombe. I always think
it is. It's one of those though when you sort of, it's kind of like, I was going to say Luton, but there are parallels, not around the football stadium, obviously, but around Wycombe you get to the football stadium. It looks wonderful, doesn't it? When you're looking out over the scenery in the background and the fields and the trees and everything like that, especially on a nice spring day like we had, and then you do the walk back to the station.
Yeah.
Say no more. Anyway, Don's 3-word reports. Kevin Holland at Brighton Don and George Jones, friend of the show, at ballboy_Don. They had very similar match reports. Simply, cheats or cheaters never prosper. Gary Wilkes at Gary_M_Wilkes simply said season still alive, which I think is fair. If we'd have lost that, we might have been thinking now that was game over. And as I say, sorry, I introduced this by talking about Paul Raymond. I didn't actually read out his 3-word report, but simply at Paul Enray, Allsop, the goalkeeper, Allsop dived wrong. Very good, obviously, with the diving element there of the Wycombe players and the fact the keeper went the wrong way for the last penalty. Thank you very much to all of you who sent us your 3-word reports. Remember to look out for those on Twitter after the Plymouth game on Saturday.
Hi, I'm Seb Brown, and you're listening to the 9 Years podcast, available every Thursday on iTunes and YouTube.
Stu, updates around from the club then. We normally do sort of a look at the academy, loan watch and things like that. What can you update? Let's start with the academy, because there was an under-21 game, wasn't there, was it Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. So quite a bit with the academy, and so the under-21s played Gillingham Tuesday away at Gillingham. I think it was about 1 o'clock kickoff. I think, which is always frustrating because it's very difficult to get to. Not like I was going to an away game. I know a few Wimbledon fans did go because it's half term, isn't it? At the moment. So, but
it's the Easter holiday.
It's Easter. Well, I think to be fair, Easter started like, I remember going to Hartlepool a couple of weeks ago, and that was Good Friday. So it feels like it's been forever Easter.
If only as you're listening to this, people, I am probably in work during my holidays, but never mind.
That's right. I've been at work for the last 2 weeks. Well, I was. I'm now off.
You're going away for a week.
I'm off now for a week and a half. Did I tell you that?
You don't go. But when you're in Tenerife, you're not going to be doing any work on your technically your holiday. No. I
might think about what I might do at work, but I wouldn't actually do anything. No, you're right, Nick.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway,
because that would defeat the idea of a holiday.
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honour. Right. Anyway, so the game with
Gillingham. So we lost 3-2 at Gillingham. Close game. Good news is Will Nightingale returned for a 45-minute stint. And judging by reactions of Alan Reeves after the game, who basically just said he was immense, played up against Bradley Dack, who is top goal scorer for Gillingham this season and coming back from injury, and by all accounts gave him very little change, which is great news. Also,
it's very difficult to give. It's difficult sometimes to avoid giving people from Kent any spare change. Sorry, Ray Armfield, Sharon Armfield, if you're listening.
They do get around a bit, don't they? They're out anyway.
Who are you talking about? Not Ray and Sharon.
No, not Ray. I'm sure their house is stable.
All right, yeah, right.
And they know we're joking when we say that, but I think they live in the posh part of Kent, don't they?
Yeah, I imagine they do. Yeah.
Anyway, so Will got about 45 minutes. So did Connor Smith. I think the intention was to give Connor a little longer, but
I'm not going to lie. I've forgotten about Connor Smith, and it's nothing to do with the fact he plays for Watford or used to play for Watford. I genuinely had forgotten that name. What's he been up to? Has he been injured?
He got injured, so he got a knock. I'm trying to think now when he got a knock. He did get. I think the last game he played was Accrington at home when he hit the post. If you remember,
late on, yeah.
And I think he got a knock in training. I know, by all accounts, I think he got some concussion by a shot from apparently one of the management team people. I've heard a rumour on.
Right.
He got concussion because of that before a game, but I think he's got a knock in training.
Okay.
So he got 45 minutes. Adam Reeves did say he did bring him off as a precaution because he felt his thigh was a bit tight, so he took him off and brought Alfie Egan on. It's not a bad sub to have, to be fair, is it? Other first teamers involved, Dave Fitzpatrick, also got some action as well, so that's good. But yeah, lost 3-2, 1-0 down at half time. Got back in it with a goal from Jason Stripp, who's the under-18 captain. I think he went 2-1 and then 2-2 with a 40-yard shot by Cannon Wilson. And apparently that was late on. We had chances to win it, and then at a death they scored a winner. But I don't think there's no shame losing to a very strong Gillingham team when you look at a team made up of a lot of under-21s, a lot of under-18s in that team. So I think it's a good workout, and they have a home game against Leyton Orient next Tuesday, which I think is at the training ground. So if you want to get along, don't go in a Mersham. It's not a Mersham game; it's at a training ground, I believe.
And am I right in thinking, did Giossia Larger feature for Gillingham? Did I see that correctly?
Not that I saw. From what I saw, Bradley Dack played, McDonald played. I didn't see Giossia Larger. Could be wrong. I did check their website to get their team. They only said that they had Bradley Dack, John Egan, and Cody McDonald back from injury. So you could be right, Nick, mate. I don't know why we're playing on 21s though for Gillingham. No,
I wouldn't either. But maybe I've got that wrong. But we'll have a look anyway. Strong team nonetheless, as you say, from Gillingham. So not a disappointing result at all, really, when you consider that.
No, so just to finish off the academy side of it, the under-18s won again 3-0 on Saturday against Exeter 3-0. Jaden Antwi, who's come back recently from injury, got a couple, and Nathan Woods. They are now 12 matches unbeaten in the league and third in the table at the moment. So looking good for them. If anyone wants to get along, the under-20s or the under-18s are at home to Leyton Orient, I believe, next Saturday. Saturday they're away next week. Sorry, I lied. They're Friday they are away at Bournemouth, and then they're at home. The same day we play Crawley at home, they have a 10:30 kickoff against Leyton Orient. So
if you fancy a day of football supporting AFC Wimbledon, you can go down to the training ground in the morning and then wander around, short walk onto Kingston Road, maybe go to Fat Boys or whatever, and then watch the first team in action as well.
What more can you want in life, eh?
Lots. There's lots more to life than that, actually, Stu. Let's be honest. But it will do for now, won't it?
Definitely.
Any loan watch? Any loan news?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. Loan watch. I'll be very quick. So I know we're going through talking about Millwall games. So Tom Beer was the 5-1 win against Brentwood, who are 22nd at the moment.
Sorry, Millwall game.
Millwall? Did I say Millwall?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Who was what? What
Millwall? Where did I get Millwall from?
I
don't know. Sorry, Tom Beer was playing for Hampton.
Right, Hampton and Richmond.
Still at Hampton.
No, Hampton Redbridge. Sorry,
in the season, so you don't know where he's gone. Sorry about that. Don't know why Millwall on the brain then, but 5-1 win against Brentwood, who are in the lower half of the league. Brentwood played the last 30 with 10 after someone took out Tom with a 2-footed challenge. However, he played on, scored the fourth, and had assist in the fifth.
Had an assist.
Had an assist in the fifth.
Yes, okay. I thought it sounded like you said something else, which would have been very, very unfortunate.
4 goals. That's because I'm going to rush through them now. 4 goals in 30 games, and Brendan Kiernan scored the third for Hampton. Still at Hampton at the moment.
Wow, blast from the past, isn't there?
It is. So they've done all right. They are now top, 4 points clear of East Thurrock. And we were chatting about Bognor about had all those games in hand.
Oh yeah.
Well, they lost 3. They lost the last 3.
Oh wow.
But they are playing every other game. Sorry, every other game.
No wonder they lost a couple of them.
You said they played every other game, wouldn't you? Sorry, they're playing every other day.
Right.
Yeah, lost the last 3. So at the moment they have 3 games in hand still, but they're 12 points adrift. So it looks like they've
blown it.
Well, it looks like their great run in the FA Trophy has done them no favours. And it makes you laugh, doesn't it? It makes you laugh how the Wycombe Premier will probably be promoting the fact that one of their clubs got into the FA Trophy semi-final, but have probably done little to help them with all their fixture pilot. I know obviously with that league you only pay players so many weeks. I get that from obviously being involved in it, but for them to have to rush all their games in such a short period has really probably cost them a promotion place, which they probably are good enough to get.
What's the other big news this week? I'm not sure when the news was actually broken. I think we recorded our podcast very early last week, so we didn't get to announce it last week. But we are now the subject of a Hollywood film. John Green has got permission, has got whatever he needed, a contract, however it works in Hollywood. He's got given the job of writing the screenplay for the AFC Wimbledon movie. Now, we don't know exactly what form this is going to take, or how he's going to go about it, or whether this film is actually going to be AFC Wimbledon the movie or something based on the story of AFC Wimbledon. But it's very exciting nonetheless. Some of the reaction, however, I must say, I'm reading various social media websites. I think we need to know a little bit more about what Mr. Green has got in store before we start either complaining or rubbishing what might be a fantastic, it is a fantastic thing, but what could also be a very entertaining film.
It's difficult. Sometimes as fans, we are the most suspicious people ever, aren't we? When something good.
Who told you that?
Well, what makes me laugh is that at the moment the film's been announced, and to even get someone to consider the film, let's be fair, we've all said for ages to make a great film, but actually whether someone would have taken it on is a different story. John Green's used his contacts at Fox, who have probably after him going on about this soccer team in the UK have probably gone, do you know what, that sounds like a good story if he believes it. So I think the publicity itself, especially after the fact that we've just had the Merton Council and the London Mayor obviously delaying our decision, any good publicity and a chance for us to promote the good about this club surely is a great thing. I do find it a bit strange. There's no guarantee that the film still will go ahead. I'd imagine there's still a lot of work to do, as there probably are with films, but anything that John Green is doing to get us extra publicity can't be bad for the club, can it?
No, I don't think so at all. There are various ways that I think John might have to tell the story in a slightly different way. We had many years ago when we first started the club, we had the Story So Far DVD, which was a documentary about how everything had happened from the MK move, first being mooted to the green light being given to setting up as AFC Wimbledon, what have you. This is not going to be a movie that I don't think is going to tell the story in that sort of way. Not even in a way of sort of the Brian Clough film, where they took it from the linear story from day one to here. I think it might take a different form so that it is more accessible to people that aren't particularly football fans or have no interest in knowing about the story about AFC Wimbledon, which is fine. Which is going to get more eyes on the film and get more people watching, which in turn is going to get more people knowing about AFC Wimbledon. So. But then I'm speculating myself now. But let's just sit and wait and see where it goes.
Well, let's be fair. I believe I read somewhere that Fever Pitch was done by Fox many
quite possibly
years ago. Yeah, if you remember Fever Pitch was around the Arsenal, but around a story of a character, wasn't it? So John Green has a history of young adult books. I think the next word. But what I mean by that, it could be a simple love story of a couple meeting at a Wimbledon game and the community, and then going to Hawley away or Margate away in a midweek, or I don't know, getting together after the Herne Bay victory, in the FA. There's loads of. It's not going to be centred on everything that happened at Wimbledon, but probably will have a plot. And of course, it's going to have that, because the Wimbledon fans, of course, will watch it regardless of what's involved. But if we really want to, get some revenue for it, and no one's even gone on about of what happens with the revenue. Has John struck a deal? Have we got a deal? We get some of the money? I don't know. There's loads of things, isn't there? We own the story, so surely we should get something out of it.
I'm sure we'll get some sort of financial benefit from this whole thing. I'm sure. I don't think there's any way we can't do, even down to the point where I imagine they're probably going to have to use Kings Meadow. If they get this thing, I suppose it depends on when they get it rolling, I suppose. But if they have to use anything of our facilities to record things or film things, then surely we get fees for that anyway.
Yes, yeah. Well, as long as we own it by the time it's done.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, that's the worry. Suddenly yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Chelsea are short of a few bobs. I'm sure Chelsea may give us that money back when we sit on the ground. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's great. I know definitely at my workplace, a lot of people had heard about the story and were just, John Green. And it was funny because I mentioned John Green a couple of weeks ago when we interviewed him. They weren't too sure who he was, and all of a sudden I saw in the paper and they said of him being one of the most influential people, etc. And they're like, "Wow, this is a mad American." I went, "Yeah, that's one." And let's be fair, we got a scoop on it anyway. We asked him in an interview, didn't we? We had a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
And he told us unofficially. No, he didn't.
He said, "Actually, boys, don't broadcast this." But
but we did ask him. And he chuckled. But he chuckled in a way that it was not a surprise.
No, it was obviously in his thinking at that point. Clearly,
definitely.
There we go. Also, he's doing it. I think he's not. Let me rephrase that. He's going to be writing the film alongside Rosianna as well, I believe, who we met as well.
Yeah, he's a very clever person as well, so that'd be good if she's involved.
Lots of talented people involved on this. Talking about talented people, see how I did that segue there.
Oh, you linked me into it. Oh,
yeah. Okay, you can tell yourself that. I was actually talking about the Don's Trust board because we're going to segue nicely into the fact that tonight, if you're listening to this on Thursday, on the day of release, it is the Don's Trust SGM Special General Meeting at Kings Meadow at 7:30pm. So if you can make it, I know it's short notice if you weren't aware of it already. I'm sure you would have been though. Emails have been sent out. It's been on the website. Probably could have done with being put on the official Twitter or official website a bit more, maybe, if I could say that. Can I say that? I think I just have. But anyway, so 7:30 tonight, Kings Meadow. There is a vote on ticket price increases. Should we be promoted? That is, I think, one of the main topics tonight. And there will also be a staging update from Eric Samuelson as well. So if you can make it down to Kings Meadow, please do so. I will be. So I will be able to report on Twitter and Facebook for anyone that cannot make it.
So Nick, just throwing it totally at you, what would your vote be if it was a yes or no to increasing prices we got?
I would have to hear what's the. I have no idea about ticket prices at this juncture, so I'd have to read through the literature, hear what's being said, and make my mind up. But I'm pretty easy on ticket price increases. I think we can't really avoid it, especially if you get promoted. I think it's just logical, but it just depends on how much it is. Because we pretty much keep in line with League Two, don't we? We're pretty much average for this league, so I would expect to be average for the next league up. But I can't imagine, looking at the league above, I can't imagine prices being that much more than they are in League Two anyway. To be honest with you, I can only imagine it being a couple of quid, maybe. But maybe I'm being very, very naive.
And to be fair, Eric normally will present it very factually and will probably have that information available. I was being devious there by asking you because I know we weren't going to discuss that, but and it's something we probably can discuss another time. But I'd be interested to see what we do because bearing in mind with the changes in the Premiership next year in terms of some of the ticket pricing that's going to happen about the 20 quid stuff, and we already pay close to that some places. Was it 20 quid or 30 quid? I've forgotten now what the level was, wasn't it?
I can't remember, but if you think, pretty much we're paying £20, aren't we? Wherever we go at the moment, yeah. I
think 20 quid. See, the thing is, our terrace price is 17 quid for the Ken Flo and the John Smith. Part of me says we should increase it because we can only fund it by ourselves, and we have to give the club the best possible chance of having a fund for League One. But ultimately, I also think we have to be careful with our pricing to not scare people away, but also keep our competitive and really good prices for our youth people.
It's a great debate to have as well, actually, because to be fair, this isn't like us getting promoted. Because I was about to go down to the argument of saying, well, people are obviously, especially in that first season, people are going to want to come along because we're in a new league and it's all very exciting. But it's not actually a promotion such as going from the conference into the Football League, which is the one where everyone wants to be a part of it. League Two to League One, realistically, is not that great a jump. It's a step on the ladder to better things if you want to progress through the pyramid. But this actual promotion is quite a minor one, really. There's not a great deal of difference between the two.
It's basically like getting promoted from the Southern League to the Northern League if you look at League One, because it's for Northerns.
How does that work? Do you mean like Sorry, I see.
It was the fact that we've got a lot of southern teams in League Two.
I see what you're saying now.
League One is full of northerners, so it's basically like a regional divide that we get promoted to, because there's not an awful lot of difference in all seriousness. Apart from the fact that you've got more chance to win the Johnson Paint Trophy because you're in the higher league.
And even then, I'm not really sure. But you're right. I mean, look at it. What's the difference between us playing? With all due respect, we've played a lot of the teams in League One as well already.
Yeah,
we've been to Rochdale, Shrewsbury, Fleetwood. Lots of these clubs already. So Gillingham,
You might face a big club coming down from the Championship, but 9 times out of 10 they're bust. I.e. Bolton.
Yeah, and Bolton or Charlton. We won't
have both.
The other one coming down. We pretty much hope will be coming down.
Yeah,
could be very, very interesting. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to get in the playoffs before we can talk about that.
And also, before we wrap that up, Charlton is a classic story of foreign ownership.
Oh man,
it's gutting. And we could have to be fair, we probably will discuss it at one point. But what's happening at Charlton is amazing, especially when their owner comes out by the fact of if you boycott the club, you're just basically doing your own clubbing. Well, you're going to be long gone before the fans have gone. And Charlton they've got to get back ownership of that club desperately.
Isn't it mad though? Like how Charlton went from nothing, and they resurrected the club and got it up, and they were the model club. Everything about them was how everything should be done. They got it so right for so long, and to implode like they have is insane. I cannot figure it out, but there we go.
It's cruel. Everyone loves Charlton. I don't know anyone that doesn't like Charlton. They're just a
Palace.
Club. Yeah, Palace. But I just think Charlton are a club that don't really cause any problems to me. I'm quite happy with Charlton. It's quite sad to see what's happening there. But yeah, hopefully they're going to get relegated, and hopefully the owner gets bored, sells it off, whoever's going to buy it. But you'll probably find that if we don't get promoted out of League Two, that'll be a London derby in a couple of years.
It's time for the birthdays game here on the 9 Years podcast.
3 birthdays this week. Again, a football one, a wrestling one, and a famous person. Should we do this in a slightly different order this time? Let's start with a famous person.
Cool.
One of your favourites, and to be fair, mine. It's former Hearsay singer Mylene Klass, who I now believe is a full-time Marks and Spencer's model and moaner about the mansion tax.
Yeah. How old was she?
That's the question. That's the whole point of the game.
I know. You just got me laughing about the mansion tax. I was just like, yeah. See, I think when the band was done, they weren't a young group. I don't think she was that young. I don't think they were like 18, 19s when Hearsay was done. I reckon she's close to 40s now. I reckon she's about 41.
Oh, you just went the wrong side of the 40s. 38.
Cool.
You are getting better. You are thinking logically about these things. When was Hearsay? Was that 2000 or 2001? It was around that time, wasn't it?
That's probably it was the first pop stars, wasn't it? They done.
It was the first one, so it must have been about
Pete
2000.
Warman, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows my reaction. That shows you my Saturday night TV knowledge.
Yeah, that is quite sad actually, but never mind. It was about the turn of the millennium anyway, wasn't it? So there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan of her work. Footballer. Here's an interesting one for you. Fabrice Muamba. He's now a retired footballer, of course.
Fabrice, well, he wasn't that old when he had that unfortunate incident. Well, unfortunately, saved his life, didn't it? I reckon he must be early 30s now. 32?
No, still even younger than that. He's 28.
What a waste! What a waste! That's the wrong way of putting that. Sorry. What a tragic that robbed him. Because he, to be fair, was an excellent player at Bolton, wasn't he?
He was. And
what a tragic incident.
We were just talking about Bolton. They were a Premier League team at the time, weren't they? I think they were playing Spurs. I think it was an FA Cup.
Spurs, yeah. I was coming back from me and Lorraine were coming back from
Bristol Rovers.
It was a Northern game because I remember we got stuck. We got stuck in the M1. Started moaning, chucked the radio on to listen to the game, and then a radio station trying to describe a person having a heart attack on a pitch or something like that. It was just gruesome to know what was happening. But it was some Northern game.
I remember being on a train back from somewhere with I think I was with Paul Raymond at the time, and we were getting the news. So yeah, we'll have to find out exactly when it was.
Yeah, well, Twitter followers. Twitter followers, all followers.
If you remember, can you tweet us at 9YS Podcast? Yeah. Or Facebook us, facebook.com/9YS Podcast. There you go. Final one, then it has to be a wrestler. Someone who was successful at WrestleMania. They won their match. Is the daughter of the legendary Ric Flair. Ric Flair, by the way, I know this is a Wimbledon podcast. I know we've said this about wrestling, by the way. Ric Flair can do one. So really? Really, he really can. Right, sorry, I'm going to have a quick ramble. If you want to fast forward about 30 seconds, be my guest, okay? If you don't want to hear this. Not you. You're going to have to listen to this, I'm afraid. Hall of Fame on Saturday, he was inducting a wrestler called Sting, quite a famous wrestler called Sting, back in the old WCW days. It was Sting's moment. He was the grand recipient of the Hall of Fame entry. He was like the premier headlining induction. Ric Flair was inducting him. Ric Flair seemed to forget that he was there to induct Sting and just went into business for himself and started talking about his history in the business and talking about all the great people that he used to wrestle, then started talking about his daughter, who's now obviously a wrestler and is now the women's champion and all this sort of thing. Totally ignoring it. And even at the end of it, when he sort of signed off to actually allow Sting to come on stage to do his speech, he forgot to introduce Sting. He said, "Thank you very much, it's been great." And then you can see he's got the voice in his ear going, "I want to actually introduce the guy who's getting inducted." Oh, Ric Flair. Could give him a slap. Next time I see him, I'm going to give him a chop. Save him doing it. But anyway.
Is it similar to like a Kanye West situation when he totally... I know, because Kanye West didn't he have a go at Taylor Swift, didn't he?
Yeah, slightly different, but in turn, it was sort of taking the...
Stealing your moment, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally ruined the moment, but anyway. What an idiot. Anyway, his daughter won at WrestleMania. She retained her Divas Championship, which was actually now changed to the Women's Championship. Doesn't matter. How old is Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte?
In fact, judging that Ric Flair can't be that old, can he? Do you know what I mean? So, I reckon must be probably hitting 30, 29.
Oh, so close. She is actually bang on 30. The big 30. There you go. And I'm sensing from listening in the background that your fiancé might have tried to overhear this and help you out with getting the age, and you got it wrong.
My fiancé tries to give me the answer, and I stupidly listened to her, and she got it wrong.
Oh, my word.
So that serves you right. That serves you right for losing that. Oh, dear. Sorry.
What were we just saying about Wycombe and cheaters never prospering? There we go.
Oh, dear. Totally unprofessional. I can't believe my girlfriend got me to get another one wrong. I probably got it right if it wasn't for me, thinking.
Possibly. I'm not sure about that one. I do like the fact you say it was unprofessional because, remember, we are actually completely amateur doing this. But,
Of course. So that was basically exactly what I should have done.
There we go. Anyway, that's the birthdays for this week. Thank you very much, Stu. Looking ahead then to the weekend. Big weekend. Plymouth away, but not ignoring our game for a moment. League 2. We're looking at some of the fixtures of League 2. I've made a list of some of the big games here. Wycombe are away at York, which is a tough place to go, even though York are pretty much relegated now.
Yeah.
Exeter travel to Yeovil. Again, Yeovil are pretty much safe now, so pressure off, improving all the time. Difficult game. Orient are also away. They've got a big London derby against Barnet. We call it a London derby. A Barnet, well, I suppose they are technically. And then Carlisle. Now, Carlisle won in the week. They beat Hartlepool, I believe. So they actually moved above us, knocked us down to 10th place and put themselves right in contention as well. So they've got a home game against Mansfield, who are have totally fallen away now. So we could really do with a lot of those teams dropping points.
Yeah, it's like we said though, Nick, wasn't it? We we've done a prediction thing, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and I know we looked at the scores, and I did say that I really felt that York were in danger of going down, so they're not going to let anyone go their place and take points without a fight. The figure of speech, isn't it? I can't see Wycombe going there and winning. I can see a big draw.
I must admit, looking at them on Saturday as well, and I know they've got some injuries and they've problems with the squad and everything. There was nothing there that I really thought, this isn't a playoff. They weren't a playoff team for me. I don't think they'll be in the playoffs. The final
they were missing Sam Wood. They were missing Sam Wood, wasn't they? Well,
yeah, it's no good if you can't get Wood.
I just think he's solid. I really do. I think he's great.
Yeah, very good.
Let's stop that. Yeah. Exeter away at Yeovil. How have Exeter crept up so much, so they're challenging. Because we beat Exeter on Boxing Day, didn't we? In our day, was it? No, it wasn't Boxing Day.
It's around the time
after Boxing Day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but they were bang average. But I can see Yeovil beating them. To be honest with you, Yeovil are decent at the moment. Bristol Rovers going to Northampton. The only team really probably benefits out of that is Oxford, and they're at Crawley, aren't they? And Crawley are basically a toss a coin. Depending on what form you get with Crawley.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And Luton probably going to be out of it after getting beaten at home by Accrington.
They're out of it already. When they lost to Stevenage the other day, that was it. That was game over for them. So
I think it is. But then, to be fair, Nick, in all seriousness, I know we have a laugh about Luton, but they were near the top of the form guide, but they would have had to put a run together, a championship winning form to really keep on top of that. But no, there's some tough fixtures out there, which is great because that's exactly what we need. We've gone through that period of tough games. We've got our own tough game, but Plymouth away, I said to you, I'm not surprised Plymouth are struggling at the moment. Their form's not great. They had bought a few loan players in. They bought Bat in on loan from Fleetwood, who I never thought Bat gave us that many problems when he was at Fleetwood before.
Do they have Damien? You're talking about Damien Bat, or you're talking about Jamil Matt?
Bat. No, Matt. Is it Matt or Bat?
I thought it was Jamil Matt, who was at Kidderminster.
No, I swear they got a loan. They've got a loanee in. They got a loanee in. I swear from Fleetwood.
What were we just saying about being unprofessional?
Yeah, it's just that I saw him playing up front with Ruben Reid.
Am I getting confused with Jamil Matt? Who? No, he is. No, he is at Plymouth now. He is. He's on loan from Fleetwood.
Yeah. See.
No. Yeah. That's what I said. I said Matt, not Bat.
It's close. I do have that similar sort of ending.
Well, I don't know them that well, or him that well either. But okay. Jamil Matt.
Yeah,
so
it'd be interesting. But I say Plymouth is a place you go to, shut for 20 minutes, let the crowd moan, get a bit edgy, and then go for it. I wouldn't be surprised to see us win there.
No, I wouldn't.
Be truthful, but we've just got to set it up so we can beat the big. Well, it's not even a derby, is it? It's not even a Wimbledon Crawley is not even a derby, is it really? But God, do I want to beat them? I don't like creepy Crawleys.
No, nobody does. I don't actually think anyone likes them, but anyway. We do have a good record down at Plymouth. And really, if we can get something, as we said earlier, we're only 2 points behind Wycombe, who are in 7th. We do have that game in hand, which is Portsmouth. And goal difference is on our favour. So if we can get a win, it's a big ask, but I don't see us losing on Saturday anyway. I'll put it that way. And then following us, Plymouth actually then have Portsmouth and Leyton Orient in their games following us. They go away to Portsmouth and Orient as well, so they're going to have a big role to play as you struggle with your flatulence there.
It's tough, and in all fairness, I know we've got a game in hand, and I don't think we should get too hung up about the fact that we have to win that game in hand. Of course, if we win the game in hand, theoretically we go into 7th, but it's still a couple of weeks before we go there. The game in hand could be quite important, but I don't think it's playoff defining. I think there's a lot to happen in the next. We've got 7 games left. I can see a lot of toss and turning from going on in the bottom bit there, and I'm trying to think of another word to use.
That's a great way of putting it.
I couldn't think of another word to use, to be fair, but I think there's only one place. I don't think Pompey, unless we beat Pompey and Pompey slip up somewhere, I think Pompey probably have got enough of a gap. So it's probably Wycombe that are in danger, but
I think there's about 4 or 5 teams fighting for 7th place. I think the other 3 have gone.
Yeah, I think they are, but I think we're not there. We've had our bad run. There are a lot of clubs that are now getting into fighting for the playoff place. At the moment, a crest of a wave, aren't there? Some clubs that are doing really well, but we are due another run. So I'm reasonably confident, but then I'm never that negative anyway.
Updates from Plymouth will be delivered by hook or by crook at 9YRS Podcast on Twitter and Instagram as well, we hope. So keep an eye out for those. Before we go this week, Stu, I was going to mention this at the start of the show this week, and I didn't put it on the script because, again, that word unprofessional. But in all seriousness, some of you might have recognised the song we started with this week. Obviously, we've moved away from the wrestling themes. This week I put on a cover of Another Girl, Another Planet, which was a song by a band that I'm not really familiar with. I think they were called The Ones. But anyway, I was familiar with the cover version by Blink-182, which is what we played at the start of the show. The reason I picked that song was it came up this week on a new BBC drama. I don't know if you've been watching this, Stu. It's called The A Word. It's about a young boy, I believe in Yorkshire, who is being diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
And this week is, in fact, World Autism Awareness Week. So I thought I'd just take the opportunity to highlight that and say, if you're not familiar with anything to do, obviously, in my line of work, for many years now, I've been working with children that are on the autistic spectrum. And I think it's something that, as a society, we are learning more and more about all the time. We're becoming more tolerant of it. So I'd just like to say, if you're not familiar with it or you want to know more, just go to www.autism.org.uk and read up about it. And it might just help you. It's understanding of people that, somebody used the word suffer. I'm not sure if we can use it as suffering, but people that are on the autistic spectrum have got this condition. So please do that if you get the opportunity. With that said, and also before we go, we must give the answer to this week's teaser. Stu, I asked you very simply, on this date, 7th of April in 2010, who were our opponents and what was the score?
So, bearing in mind 2010 was... Oh, no, I'm just thinking, actually. It wasn't 2010 was our promotion season, was it?
It wasn't, no.
That was 2009, wasn't it?
It was.
Damn.
So were you thinking it was like Bromley?
I was thinking it was Fleetwood.
Where was that? Oh, what? The playoffs?
The playoff semi.
That would have been 2011, wouldn't it?
9 years, wouldn't it? Yeah, season before, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So the season before that would have been... I don't know, I'm totally thrown now. I've lost all my thinking of that. I swear it was Fleetwood. Damn.
It was a team from up north that you travelled to. You actually travelled to this fixture on 2 occasions this season, and were not best pleased with either trip. It was in our first season in the conference. You will get there.
I travelled to it twice.
Yeah.
Why did I go somewhere twice?
Because the first time it was postponed.
Oh, no.
At very short notice.
The team that I've just said would do everything to fight their way out of relegation.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know. I don't like York. And if we've got any York fans listening or anyone who likes York, I don't. And they'll do well in the conference next season.
Yeah, I've got to say they will be in the conference next season. What was the score, by the way, Stu?
5-0.
It was 5-0.
Brody ranking.
Yep.
4 apart. I can even see it now. It was Ben Judge, Pudden was in goal, and I'm trying to think now who was playing alongside Judge at the time.
I think it might have been Paul Lorraine.
It would have been, actually, because all I can remember is him chasing after Brody at the time. So
yeah,
I love that. That was a great evening.
Mm.
Thanks for reminding me.
That's all right. Do you know what makes me laugh about that? Because we mentioned this earlier, the fact you were talking about going to Hartlepool and Morecambe and missing out, seeing our defeats and then not being able to see us win at Wycombe. My favourite story about the York game is the fact that we played Mansfield away a few days later, and you passed up your ticket and your train ticket. You were going to go and you thought better of it after the York game. You thought it was, I think you actually gave up that season after that point.
I sulked.
Yeah, basically.
I sulked.
And we went up to Mansfield a few days later, and that was the famous Seb Brown 2 safe penalties and 1-0 victory.
I tell you what I know about York was the first time that they somehow, after they were rumoured to have injury problems, and all of a sudden it flooded at Bootham Crescent. That annoyed me because I got to York and travelled all the way there. And the second time, I was lucky enough to get a free ticket. But the problem was, a free ticket was in the main stand amongst all their locals, who spent the whole game laughing at how rubbish we were. And that's why I just don't like them anymore. So unfortunately for York fans, it's only a few of them that took the mick out of Lorraine and Judge at night. And that's why I don't like them, really.
Which is fair enough. Talking about people we don't like, or I don't particularly like, let's get on to our guest for next week's show. Big name joining us next week, Stu.
Okay, who's that?
It is former Tottenham manager Harry Redknapp.
Oh. He does realise that we don't need any sort of director of football here, and there's no money to get it out of us. Do you know what I mean? He does realise that, doesn't he?
I'm not sure if he realises that just yet, but he will soon be made aware. But
okay.
Anyway, he'll be here to discuss Jamaican international Wes Morgan's chances of being in the England squad for the European Championships. Well done, Harry. We'll see you then.